So I have been the past few days thinking about the emptiness of our meditation hall. And it has been quite a process. And so I'm looking at how things come into existence, the causes and conditions, the parts, and the mind that merely labels. So as the past month has gone by, and it's gone from being the meditation hall, and then looking at the whole experience of moving it, it's like where, I mean, I still in my mind, I say it's the meditation hall, but there's a lot of parts that are missing that I'm not quite sure it's merely labeled, but just barely hanging by a fingernail as far as I'm concerned. Because we took out, when we first decided to move it, we took out all the holy objects. And as the objects got removed, all of the thoughts, the memories, the ordinations, the retreats, the teachings, everything kind of went with the holy objects as they got put down into the community room and in Ken's room. And then, but there was still the structure, there was still the lights, there was still the altar, there was still the paint on the wall, the furniture. Then the furniture got moved. Then the flooring got pulled up, and it was just starting to shake in my mind, like it's still the meditation hall, Samke, it's still the meditation hall. And then we've got these pictures of the community just taking these sledgehammers to the walls to take out the wiring, so that it's getting dismantled, not just physically, but in my mind. I'm trying to sort of grok the dismantling of this merely labeled meditation hall. So we've got this whole process of dismantling, and the question in my mind is there some place in this dismantling where the meditation hall ceased to exist? And so I'm still my mind's still holding on to this, even though right now it's really shaky. And then it got taken off of its foundation. Okay, so its parts were becoming dismantled, and the causes and conditions for it to be a hall were starting to also begin to, well, I wouldn't exactly say cease, but they were definitely being disconnected from each other. And then Mike pulled it off the foundation, and I don't know, there was a conversation about how he was going to move it with the beams. I kept thinking that the bottom of it and the walls were all going to go as this one entity, including the concrete flooring, the concrete walls, and the log structure was going to get moved en masse up the hill and just placed back down in another place. But all that got moved was these funny little sides, none of them are totally full walls, and the roof. And so there's this little shell, well, not so little, getting pulled by the semi-tractor trailer up the hill, and then it gets to sit up in the air for about 2 weeks. And I'm going inside of it going, I'm just like, this is not the meditation hall anymore. So, so now it's gone back onto a shell. Okay, so now it looks a little bit more like a building. But when you go inside, there's a dirt floor, and then the walls have been taken out. So for me, this has been, it has been quite a practice to see how much, first of all, parts have become a more important piece to my mind on how many parts does it take for my mind to be able to put all those parts together and then impute onto a structure and call it a meditation hall, and finding out that there are a huge amount of parts that make that happen. So right now my mind is barely holding on to the imputation. There's a few more parts because now it has a foundation, but all the interior is still dismantled. There's no electricity, there's no heat, there's no light. So there's this little ghost-like shell up on the hill. And right now it has a few parts, and my mind is imputing, but it's not imputing onto the building with the same amount of parts and the same amount of causes and conditions that it had a month ago. Now, I'm not sure what particular type of relevance this conversation, this little sharing has, except for the power of my mind to want it to be so. And right now it's riding on a lot of memories Because when I go into that skeleton of a structure, even though if someone were to come up into the hall and we go, this is our meditation hall, they would probably go, you've got to be joking. But when I stand in there, I can visualize the tankas, I can visualize where the altar is, and the memories just start pouring in about the teaching, sharing the Dharma, Cancer, Wandok, Venerable's teachings, the retreats, prostrations on the floor, the sun coming in the windows, the chilliness of the winter retreats, the blankets, all of this in my mind, the memories are keeping the imputation of the meditation hall on a structure that doesn't have the parts previously that my mind used to impute, nor the causes and conditions. So it's just sort of verifying for me the power of my mind due to the attachment to the meditation hall personally, the historical significance, the Dharma significance, the personal transformational experience I've had within it, which adds to the significance, that are not parts that most people can see but me. So maybe just to examine if there's something in your life that somebody else also has in their life, is to think about what is the power of one's mind to impute the significance and the existence of that object, and to try to compare notes to see what are the parts, what are the causes and conditions, and what is the imputation from two people looking at the same object, and see how very much different it is, but yet it still is labeled that for both the people. And see if there's a huge disparity or whether you see it fairly similar. But it's the power of the mind, and that's what I've been chewing on for the past few days.